Charlie Darwinless worshipped Satan, as this video will prove. God willing, the richer and more influential the man, the more likely he is or was a Freemason. And by free, I put that in quotation marks because they claim to be free, they're not really free. It's one of their lies. According to Masons themselves, here the Maryland Masons, the following were Masons. Notice they were rich and influential: George Washington, Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry Truman, the guy who nuked Japan, which I think was justified, Andrew Jackson, Irving Berlin, Louis Armstrong, Ludwig von Beethoven, Harry Houdini, Mark Twain, Mark Twain, Benjamin Franklin, Oscar Wilde, Norman Vincent Peale, Sir Alexander Fleming, Sir? Yeah, sure. Edwin Aldrin, the guy who pretended to go to the moon, Winston Churchill, John Jacob Astor, Edward of England, Christopher Wren, Frederick of Prussia, Henry Ford, Francis of the so-called Holy Roman Empire, Arnold Palmer, never heard of him, George VI, King of England during World War II, Denton True C. Young, Marcus de Lafayette, some French guys, Cecil B. DeMille, Alexandre Millerand, President of libtarded France, John Wayne, Peter the Not-So-Great of Russia, and others were Masons. Now this was Charles Darwin's grandfather, Erasmus Darwin. He was a Mason, according to the Scottish Rite of Boston. Masons say he was a Mason. Now if your grandfather is a Mason, the chances of you being a Mason become over 9,000, especially when you are also a rich, very influential guy. And there's more reasons to believe that Darwin was a Mason. So Masonry continued in the family of Erasmus with his son Francis Darwin and his later descendant, joining a Masonic lodge, Masonic temple of the Satanic Brotherhood, the elites of which know it's satanic, the rest of which don't really know. And so it says here that his grandson Charlie carried on his so-called theory of so-called evolution, which is about macroevolution. So another reason to believe that Charlie Darwin was a Mason was that he was so in touch with his grandfather that he regurgitated the racist creation origin myth of mankind having come from subhuman blacks. So he believed what his grandfather believed. So how could he not have been in the same club as well? And so it says Darwin's name does not appear on the rolls of the lodge, Charlie's that is, but it is very possible that he, like his relative, was a Mason, as he held many Masonic beliefs. Now here's Darwin doing the Masonic vow of silence. Oh, that's just the shh, be quiet sign. Well, people imitate that without knowing the origin. So you could say he imitated that without knowing the origin, but what about this one? The Masonic hidden hand. Oh, he just had an upset stomach. He's posing there. Back in those days, taking a photograph required that you stay still, didn't it? So you had to pose for several seconds, maybe more. Depends on the level of photography. I think it required several seconds of staying still so you wouldn't have a blurry photograph. So he was posing with a hidden hand. That's Masonic. That's Masonic. So we can conclude, yes, he was a Mason. Now, the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, which I plan to do a video proving were not plagiarized, nor hoax, say that for this purpose, by means of our press, we increase their blind faith in these laws. Intelligent goys will boast of their knowledge, and verifying it logically, they will put into practice all scientific information compiled by our agents for the purpose of educating their minds in the direction which we require. Do not think that our assertions are without foundation. Note the successes of Darwinism, Marxism, and Nietzscheism engineered by us. The demoralizing effects of these doctrines upon the minds of the goyim should be already obvious to us. We have misled, corrupted, fooled, and demoralized the youth of the goyim by education along principles and theories known by us to be false, but which we ourselves have inspired. In the video iPetGo 2, which I plan to do a video or more, explaining and exposing after uploading this video, God willing, you see evolution here. Now, evolution is true, by which I mean variation of races and specimens in the races. By God's design, black people came from the same people as Mongoloids, as my people, white people. Now, I'm white, but I tan just like the Romans of Pompeii because of the Mediterranean climate. They were adapted to be able to tan well there. However, we cannot handle the sun as well as black people. So anyway, although evolution is true, that doesn't prove that macroevolution, which is the real issue here, were true. It isn't true, and I will prove that it's not true soon, God willing. So, how is belief in macroevolution corruption and folly and demoralizing? Because when you believe you're an animal, you will act like one. When I was in the United States, and that was most of my life, people acted like animals quite a lot. For example, I went to a cancer once, and I parked my bicycle on a post within sight of me, but I didn't even bother checking because it's a civilized country, so why would I expect someone to steal it in plain sight? Well, someone stole my seat, and then I had to ride my bike for like 2 weeks without a seat, just standing up all the time. That pissed me off. So the U.S. is full of animals. They act like animals. They're taught they're animals. So a society that teaches its people, you are just animals, you don't have the right to complain when they act accordingly, you hypocrite liberals. You hypocrite macroevolutionists, you hypocrite atheists, and heretics who buy this stupid shit that contradicts the Bible. You claim to be Christians, you disgusting frauds. And here you see the macroevolution nonsense dogma saying that the next stage is godhood, basically. So, that's how it's demoralizing. That's why the U.S. is full of shit. And China, too. Now, in my video, All Chinese People Dead was Englishman Darwin's dream. I proved that macroevolution is impossible. Not just isn't the case, but is impossible, can never happen. So, actually, you don't even have to go to this video. In this slide, I already prove it. You can read it for yourself. Pause this video to read it if you want. So, in just 4 or 5 lines of text, I prove that Darwin was wrong. It's so easy. Then where's your trophy? Where's your Nobel Prize? Obama got a Nobel Prize for peace while waging unjust war. Those prizes are a joke. And the truth doesn't need your recognition. The world loves lies. They don't want the truth. That's why no one would accept this, except the few who care about the truth. And of those people, they wouldn't even find me because I'm so obscure. Proof the Bible is the truth, prophetic power unrivaled, is my video proving that the Bible is right, and thereby Genesis. Therefore, we do not come from subhuman blacks like racist atheists believe, mindlessly. No, we come from Asians, Western Asians, in what is now Eastern Turkey, actually. But the Great Flood changed the landscape where you can no longer verify exactly where it was based on the description of the rivers, one of which is Euphrates. And my series, The British Empire Was Not the Biggest, proves that the British Empire and others were controlled and are controlled by the Synagogue of Satan using Masonry, the elites of which are Knights Templar successors. So the HMS Beagle, Her Majesty's or His Majesty's Beagle ship, used by Darwin for his propaganda, he was sponsored by the British racist Crown to do. That was Masonic controlled. So Masons controlled the ship. Masons were the bosses of Darwin. Darwin had Masons in his family. Darwin was rich and influential, therefore likely to be a Mason. Darwin did Masonic signs. He was a Mason. He worshipped Satan. The elites among Masons do. And of course, a worshipper of Satan would want to mislead people. And that's exactly what Darwin did. He served Satan by his macroevolution myth, which wasn't even his because his grandfather invented that shit. And maybe he wasn't the original. So that's that. Darwin worshipped Satan. He's full of shit. He's in hell right now. You're going to meet him if you cling to his stupid racist shit myth that I proved easily wrong in a few lines of text. This idiot is in hell. This idiot is in hell. Repent or perish, racist macroevolutionists.